The snow has been falling for 3 days, and the road is a memory beneath the white. You have been riding since dawn, following a track that disappears and reappears like a thread pulled loose from the fabric of the world. Your horse is tired and you are tired, and the cold has seeped through your woolen cloak and into your bones. You pull your hood tighter, and you lean forward and you watch for the towers that you were told would appear before nightfall. The forest is thick on either side, the pines heavy with snow, and the only sound is the creak of the saddle and the soft fall of the horse's hooves. You are not afraid. You are too cold to be afraid. The castle appears in the late afternoon, when the light is grey and the shadows are long. It rises from the trees like a dark promise, its towers square and solid, its walls streaked with frost. You stop at the edge of the clearing, and you look at it, and you feel something that you have not felt in days. It is not warmth, not yet. It is the promise of warmth, the hope of a fire, the memory of a roof. The drawbridge is down, and the portcullis is raised, and smoke rises from a dozen chimneys, thin and blue against the grey sky. You touch your heels to the horse's sides, and you cross the bridge. The courtyard is a bustle of servants and soldiers and animals. A stable boy takes your horse, and you lift your pack from the saddle, and you stand in the snow, uncertain. The stones underfoot are slick with ice, and the walls rise high above you, and the windows are dark. A man in a leather jerkin approaches, his breath steaming, and he says, "The Lord expects you, follow me." He leads you through a low arch and down a long corridor, and the air grows warmer, and the smell of wood smoke grows stronger. You pass a kitchen, where a pot bubbles over the fire, and a chapel, where a priest kneels before a candle, and a room where children chase each other around a table. Then you reach a great door, and the man opens it, and you step into the hall. The hall is vast, the ceiling lost in shadow, the walls hung with tapestries that shift in the firelight. A great hearth dominates the far end, and flames leap and crackle, and the heat hits you like a wave. You stop at the threshold, and you close your eyes, and you let the warmth seep into your face, your hands, your chest. You are not thinking of anything. You are only feeling, and the feeling is a kind of prayer. When you open your eyes, you see the lord of the castle sitting in a high-backed chair near the fire. He is old, his beard grey, his face lined, his eyes tired. He wears a tunic of dark wool and a ring of gold on his finger. He looks at you, and he says, "You are welcome. Come, warm yourself." You walk to the fire, and you stand before it, and the heat is intense. Your cloak steams, and your hands tingle, and your nose runs. You do not wipe it. You let it run, because you are too tired to care. A servant brings you a cup of mulled wine, sweet and spiced, and you drink it slowly, and the warmth spreads through your stomach. The Lord watches you, and he does not speak, and you do not speak. The silence is not awkward. It is the silence of a man who understands that words are not always necessary, that the fire is a language, that the wine is a conversation. The lady of the castle appears from a side door. She is younger than the lord, her hair dark, her eyes bright. She wears a gown of blue wool, and a silver chain hangs from her belt. She smiles, and she says, "You must be exhausted. I have prepared a chamber for you. The servants will bring water and a meal." You thank her, and she leads you up a spiral staircase, her torch casting shadows on the stone walls. The stairs are narrow, and you climb slowly, your legs aching, your pack heavy. The lady stops at a wooden door, and she opens it, and she gestures for you to enter. The room is small, a tower room with a narrow window that looks out over the courtyard. A bed stands against the wall, piled with blankets and furs. A small hearth has been lit, and the flames are low, and the room is warm. A basin of water sits on a wooden table, and a cloth hangs beside it. The lady says, "There is bread and cheese on the chest. If you need anything, call for the servants. We will speak in the morning." She leaves, and you close the door, and you are alone. You wash your face and your hands, and the water is cold, but the cold is a reminder that you are alive. You eat the bread and the cheese, and you drink water from a clay cup. And the food is simple, but it fills you. You sit on the bed, and you look out the window. The courtyard is dark, and the snow is falling, and the torches flicker on the walls. You are not thinking of the road, of the journey, of the reasons that brought you here. You are thinking of the fire in the hall, of the warmth of the wine, of the softness of the blanket beneath your hands. You lie down, and you pull the furs to your chin, and you close your eyes. The wind moves through the battlements, and the snow taps against the glass, and the silence is deep. You are not afraid. You are tired, and the tiredness is a kind of peace. You sleep. The bell wakes you. It is not a bell, not a church bell, but the clang of a watchman on the wall, striking a piece of metal to mark the hour. You do not know what hour it is. The window is dark, and the fire is low, and the room is cold. You add a log to the hearth, and the flames leap, and the room warms. You lie in the bed, and you listen. The castle is quiet, but the quiet is not empty. It is full of the creak of timbers, the rustle of straw, the distant murmur of voices. You are not alone. You are in a castle, and the castle is full of people, and the people are sleeping, and you are sleeping with them. In the morning, the light is grey, and the snow has stopped. You dress in your warmest clothes, and you go down the spiral staircase, and you find the great hall. The fire is high, and the servants are laying the tables for breakfast. The lord is already seated, a cup of ale in his hand, his eyes on the flames. The lady is directing the maids, her voice low and calm. You take a place at the table, and a servant brings you a bowl of porridge and a slice of dark bread. You eat slowly, and you watch the hall come to life. Knights enter, their boots loud on the stone, their voices rough. Priests glide past, their heads bowed. Children run between the tables, laughing, and a dog follows them, its tail wagging. The hall is warm, and the fire is bright, and the world outside is cold and white and far away. The Lord speaks to you after breakfast. He says, "The winter will be long, the roads will be closed until March. You are welcome to stay. There is work enough for everyone." You thank him, and you ask what work you can do. He says, "The lady will find you something. She has a list." He gestures to the lady, and she leads you to the storerooms. The storerooms are in the basement, below the kitchen, where the walls are thick and the air is cool. The lady unlocks a heavy door, and she leads you into a room that is lined with barrels and sacks and hanging meat. She says, "We must last until spring. There is salted fish, dried peas, flour, bacon, cheese, ale. I need someone to help me count it, to check for spoilage, to plan the meals." She hands you a slate and a piece of chalk. Begin with the herring. Count the barrels. Mark the number. We will do this every week. You kneel beside the barrels, and you begin to count. The herring are packed in brine, and the barrels are heavy, and the work is slow. Your fingers grow cold and your knees ache, but you do not stop. The lady works beside you, her voice low, her hands sure. She tells you about the castle, about the lord, about the children. She says, "He was a soldier. He fought in France. He does not speak of it. He does not need to. The war is in his eyes." You listen, and you count, and the barrels are numbered, and the morning passes. You eat dinner in the hall. The meal is pottage, thick with vegetables and scraps of meat, and bread and ale. You eat with the servants, at a long table near the kitchen, and the talk is low and easy. You learn the names of the maids, of the cooks, of the stable boys. You learn that the castle has been in the lord's family for 300 years, that the walls have never been breached, that the well has never gone dry. You learn that winter is the hardest time, but also the quietest, and that the quiet is a kind of gift. After dinner, you return to the storerooms. The lady has left you a list of tasks. Check the flour for weevils, turn the bacon, taste the ale. You work alone, and the silence is deep, and the only light comes from a single candle. The flour is clean and the bacon is firm and the ale is sour, but drinkable. You mark the slate, and you move to the next task. The work is slow, and your mind drifts, and you think of the road, of the snow, of the fire in the hall. You are not unhappy. The work is a kind of prayer, and the prayer is a kind of peace. You climb to your tower room as the light fades. The window is dark and the fire is low, and you add a log and watch the flames. You sit on the bed, and you look out at the courtyard. The snow is falling again, soft and silent, and the torches flicker. You are not thinking of the city, of the people you left behind, of the life you abandoned. You are thinking of the herring in the barrels, of the flour in the sacks, of the bacon hanging from the hooks. You are thinking of the Lord's eyes, of the lady's voice, of the children's laughter. You are thinking of now. You lie down and you pull the furs to your chin, and you close your eyes. The wind moves through the battlements, and the snow taps against the glass, and the silence is deep. You are not afraid. You are home. The bell rings, and you sleep. You wake to the sound of the watchman's horn, a low note that echoes through the stone corridors and fades into the grey light of dawn. The fire in your tower room has burned low, and the air is cold, and you can see your breath as you sit up. You dress quickly, pulling on your woolen tunic and your leather boots, and you go down the spiral staircase to the great hall. The hall is already awake, servants moving between the tables, knights buckling their belts, children chasing the dog. The fire is high, and the flames leap, and the heat hits you like a hand on your face. The Lord is sitting in his high-backed chair, a cup of ale in his hand, his eyes on the flames. He is a large man, not tall, but broad, his shoulders heavy, his hands thick. His beard is grey, and his hair is grey, and his face is a map of lines that speak of battles and winters and the slow erosion of time. He does not look at you when you enter, but he speaks, his voice low and rough. The snow has stopped. The road is buried. You will not leave until spring. It is not a question. It is a statement, and you accept it. You say, I will stay. He nods, and he drinks his ale, and he does not speak again. The lady comes from the kitchen, her hands dusted with flour, her apron smeared with something dark. She is younger than the Lord, perhaps 40, with dark hair that is streaked with grey, and eyes that are the colour of the winter sky. She smiles when she sees you, and she says, You slept well. Good. After breakfast, I will show you the rest of the castle. There is much to learn. She leads you to the table, and the servant brings you a bowl of porridge and a slice of dark bread. You eat slowly, and you watch the hall fill with people. The knights are the first to notice you. There are 5 of them, men who serve the Lord and fight for him when the king calls. They are young and old, tall and short, but they all have the same look in their eyes, a look that says they have seen things that they do not speak of. The oldest, a man named Sir Richard, has a scar that runs from his temple to his jaw. He limps when he walks, and his left hand is missing 2 fingers. He sits across from you at the table, and he says, You are the scribe. The Lord told us. You nod, and he says, We do not have many visitors in the winter. The snow keeps them away. But you are welcome. We will not bite. He smiles, and the smile is crooked and the scar twists, but the warmth is real. The other knights introduce themselves. Sir Thomas is young, barely 20, with red hair and freckles. He is the son of a neighbour sent to the castle to learn the ways of war. He talks too much, and he laughs too loudly, and the other knights tease him. Sir John is silent, a thin man with pale eyes who watches everything and says nothing. Sir William is fat and jolly, and he tells jokes that are not funny, and he laughs at them anyway. Sir Geoffrey is old, older than the Lord, and he sleeps in his chair most of the day, but when he wakes his eyes are sharp and his voice is clear. The servants are a world unto themselves. The cook is a woman named Elspeth, broad and red-faced with hands that are never still. She rules the kitchen with an iron spoon, and the maids and the scullions obey her without question. She gives you a piece of bread fresh from the oven, still warm, and the taste is the taste of the castle, of the fire, of the winter. The steward is a man named Alan, thin and precise, with a ledger that he carries everywhere. He keeps the accounts, and he knows how much flour is in the storeroom, how many candles have been burned, how much ale the knights drink. He is quiet and efficient, and he does not smile. The priest is Father Michael, a small man with a high voice and a kind face. He says Mass every morning in the chapel, and the bells wake the castle at dawn. He hears confessions, and he baptizes the babies, and he buries the dead. He tells you that the castle has a library, a small room with a dozen books, and he invites you to use it. You thank him, and you promise to visit. The children are the Lord's grandchildren, 3 of them, aged 5 to 10. Their parents are in London, serving the king, and the lady is raising them until spring. They are loud and wild and full of energy, and they run through the halls and chase the dog and hide in the storerooms. The lady scolds them, but gently, and they do not listen. You watch them, and you think of the children you knew in another life, and you are not sad. The lady takes you on a tour of the castle. She shows you the kitchens, where the cooks are preparing the midday meal. She shows you the buttery, where the ale and the wine are stored. She shows you the chapel, where Father Michael is kneeling before the altar. She shows you the guardroom, where the knights sharpen their swords and mend their armor. She shows you the solar, her private room, where she spins wool and mends the tapestries. She shows you the battlements, where the wind is cold and the view is vast, the forest white to the horizon. She says, "The castle is a small world. We are born here, we live here, we die here. Some of us never leave." You look out at the snow, and you think that you could stay here forever. In the afternoon you return to the storerooms. The lady has given you the task of inventorying the candles. You count them, hundreds of them, tallow and beeswax, stacked on wooden shelves. The work is slow, and your fingers are stiff, and the air is cold, but you do not mind. The silence is deep, and the only sounds are the scratch of your chalk on the slate and the distant murmur of the hall. You think about the Lord, sitting by the fire, his eyes on the flames. You think about the lady, her hands dusted with flour, her voice low and calm. You think about the knights, the servants, the children. The castle is full of lives, and you are one of them now. The bell rings for vespers, and you go to the chapel. Father Michael is standing before the altar, and the candles are lit, and the incense is thick. The knights are there, and the servants, and the children. The Lord is there, his hands folded, his eyes closed. The lady is there, his hands folded, his eyes closed. The lady is there, her lips moving in prayer. You kneel in the back, and you listen to the words, the Latin that you do not understand, but the meaning is there, beneath the words, like water beneath the ice. The chant rises and falls, and the candles flicker, and the shadows dance on the walls. You are not praying, you are listening, and the listening is a kind of prayer. After vespers you go to the great hall. The fire is high, and the tables are being laid for supper. The knights are drinking ale, and the servants are bringing food, and the children are chasing the dog. The Lord sits in his chair, and the lady sits beside him, and you take a place at the end of the table. The meal is pottage, thick with leeks and barley, and bread and cheese and ale. You eat slowly, and you watch the hall, and you feel the warmth of the fire on your face. Sir Richard tells a story. He speaks of a battle in France, of the mud and the rain and the screams. He does not speak of glory. He speaks of fear, of cold, of the men who died beside him. His voice is low, and the hall is silent, and the only sound is the crackle of the fire. When he finishes, no one speaks. The Lord nods, and he drinks his ale, and the silence is a kind of honor. The minstrel appears after supper. He is a thin man with a limp, and he carries a harp that is older than he is. He has been stranded by the snow, and he will stay until the roads open. He plays a song, a slow tune that reminds you of the sea, of waves and wind and the cry of gulls. You close your eyes and you listen, and the music fills the hall, and the fire crackles and the candles burn low. You are not thinking of anything. You are only listening, and the listening is a kind of rest. The Lord stands, and the hall falls silent. He says, "The winter is long. The snow is deep. We will be here for months. We will work, and we will pray, and we will wait. But we will also feast. Tonight, we are together. That is enough." He raises his cup, and the others raise theirs, and you raise yours. The ale is warm and bitter, and the taste is the taste of the castle, of the fire, of the winter. You climb to your tower room as the light fades. The window is dark and the fire is low, and you add a log and watch the flames. You sit on the bed, and you look out at the courtyard. The snow has stopped, and the stars are bright, and the moon is a thin crescent. You are not thinking of the road, of the journey, of the reasons that brought you here. You are thinking of the Lord's eyes, of the lady's voice, of the night's story. You are thinking of the minstrel's song, of the crackle of the fire, of the warmth of the ale. You are thinking of now. You lie down, and you pull the furs to your chin, and you close your eyes. The wind moves through the battlements, and the snow is still, and the silence is deep. You are not afraid. You are home. The bell rings, and you sleep. The lady meets you at the kitchen door after prime, when the morning light is grey and the torches in the corridors have burned down to smoky embers. She carries a ring of iron keys, and they clank against her hip as she walks. The storerooms, she says, are the heart of the castle. If the storerooms, she says, are the heart of the castle, if the stores fail, we fail, you will help me keep them. She leads you down a narrow stairwell cut into the thickness of the wall, the steps worn smooth by centuries of feet. The air grows cooler, damper, and the smell of salt and smoke and old wood fills your nose. At the bottom, she unlocks a heavy door, and you step into a long, low room lit by a single oil lamp. The room is lined with barrels, row after row, stacked too high. The lady touches them as she passes, her fingers tracing the staves, reading the marks burned into the wood. "Herring," she says, "packed in brine. We have 30 barrels. They will last until Easter, if we are careful." She stops before a barrel that is darker than the others, the wood stained and swollen. "This one is leaking. We will open it today and repack the fish. You will help me." She moves on, and you follow, and she shows you the barrels of salted beef, the sides of bacon hanging from hooks in the ceiling, the wheels of cheese stacked on wooden shelves. She shows you the sacks of flour, the dried peas, the oats, the barley. She shows you the jars of honey, the dried apples, the pickled onions. She shows you the casks of ale, 15 of them, lined against the far wall. "The knights drink a lot of ale," she says, and for the first time, she smiles. You spend the morning in the storerooms. The lady teaches you to check the barrels for leaks, to listen for the hiss of escaping brine, to smell for the sourness of spoilage. She teaches you to turn the bacon, to look for mold, to cut away the bad parts and rub the good with salt. She teaches you to test the ale, to draw a cup from each cask and taste it, to note which is sour and which is sweet. The work is slow, and your hands are cold, and your back aches from bending. But you do not complain. The lady does not complain. The lady does not complain. She works beside you, her voice low and calm, and the hours pass. The storerooms are not one room, but a warren of cellars and closets and nooks, each with its own purpose. There is a room for the candles, tallow and beeswax stacked on wooden shelves. There is a room for the linens, the sheets and towels and tablecloths folded and pressed. There is a room for the armor, the spare swords and helmets and chainmail that the knights keep for emergencies. There is a room for the firewood, the logs stacked to the ceiling, the kindling in baskets by the door. The lady shows you all of them, and she gives you a key to each lock, and she says, "You are responsible now. The stores are the castle's life. Do not let them fail." At midday, you return to the great hall for dinner. The meal is pottage, thick with leeks and barley, and bread and ale. You eat with the servants, at the long table near the kitchen, and the talk is low and easy. The cook, Elspeth, asks about the stores, and you tell her what you have seen. She nods, and she says, "The lady knows what she is doing. She has kept this castle fed through worse winters than this." She tells you about the winter of 1418, when the snow was so deep that the drifts reached the windows of the great hall, and the castle was sealed off for 3 months. She tells you about the winter of 1420, when the well froze and the servants had to melt snow for water. She tells you about the winter of 1422, when a wolf killed 3 sheep in the courtyard before the knights could stop it. You listen, and you eat, and the fire crackles, and the afternoon passes. After dinner, you return to the storerooms. The lady has left you a list of tasks: repack the leaking herring, turn the bacon, count the candles. You work alone, and the silence is deep, and the only light comes from a single oil lamp. The herring are slippery, and the brine is cold, and your fingers are numb. You pack the fish into a new barrel, layering them with salt, pressing them down, sealing the lid. The work is slow, and your mind drifts, and you think of the sea, though you have never seen it. You think of the fishermen who caught these herring, of the boats that carried them, of the merchants who sold them. You think of the road that brought you here, of the snow that buried it, of the castle that shelters you. You are not unhappy. The work is a kind of prayer, and the prayer is a kind of peace. The bell rings for none, and you climb to the chapel. Father Michael is standing before the altar, and the candles are lit, and the incense is thick. The knights are there, and the servants and the children. The Lord is there, his hands folded, his eyes closed. The lady is there, her lips moving in prayer. You kneel in the back, and you listen to the words, the Latin that you do not understand. But the meaning is there, beneath the words, like water beneath the ice. The chant rises and falls, and the candles flicker, and the shadows dance on the walls. You are not praying, you are listening, and the listening is a kind of rest. After none, you go to the great hall. The fire is high, and the tables are being laid for supper. The knights are drinking ale, and the servants are bringing food, and the children are chasing the dog. The Lord sits in his chair, and the lady sits beside him, and you take a place at the end of the table. The meal is bread and cheese and pickled herring, and you eat slowly, and you watch the hall, and you feel the warmth of the fire on your face. Sir William tells a joke. It is a joke about a priest and a merchant and a farmer, and it is not funny, but the knights laugh anyway. The children do not understand it, and they laugh because the knights are laughing. The dog barks, and the scullions bring more ale, and the fire crackles. You are not thinking of the storerooms, of the herring, of the bacon. You are thinking of the warmth, of the light, of the sound of laughter. You are thinking of now. The lady speaks to you after supper. She says, "You have done well today. The stores are in order. Tomorrow we will begin the accounts. There is much to tally." She hands you a ledger, a heavy book bound in leather, its pages filled with numbers and notes. This is the steward's book. He has kept it for 20 years. You will learn to read it, and you will help him keep it. You take the book, and you open it, and the numbers swim before your eyes. You do not know if you can do it, but you nod, and you say, "I will try." You climb to your tower room as the light fades. The window is dark, and the fire is low, and you add a log, and watch the flames. You sit on the bed, and you open the ledger, and you begin to read. The numbers are cramped, the handwriting small and hurried. You trace the columns with your finger, and you count the barrels, the sacks, the casks. You count the candles, the linens, the arrowheads. You count the coins, the arrowheads. You count the coins, the debts, the wages. The numbers are a map, and the map is the castle, and the castle is a world. You are not tired, you are learning, and the learning is a kind of warmth. The bell rings for compline, and you close the ledger. You go to the chapel, and you kneel in the back, and you listen to the words. The candles are low, and the incense is thin, and the chant is soft. You are not praying, you are resting, and the resting is a kind of prayer. You return to your tower room, and you lie down on the bed, and you pull the furs to your chin. The fire is low, and the room is cold, but you are warm under the blankets. You close your eyes, and you listen to the wind. The wind moves through the battlements, and the snow is still, and the silence is deep. You are not afraid. You are home. In the morning you wake to the sound of the watchman's horn. The fire has burned out, and the room is cold, and you dress quickly. You go to the great hall, and you eat breakfast, and you wait for the lady. She comes from the kitchen, her hands dusted with flour, and she leads you to the steward's office. The steward is Alan, thin and precise, with a ledger that he carries everywhere. He sits at a wooden desk, and the lady introduces you. Alan nods, and he says, "The lady has told me about you. You will help me with the accounts." He hands you a quill and a pot of ink. Begin with the herring. Count the barrels again. Write the number here. He points to a page in the ledger, and you dip the quill and you write. The ink is black, and the letters are small, and your hand is steady. You are not afraid. You are learning. The morning passes in the steward's office. Alan teaches you to add and subtract, to tally the stores, to calculate the wages. The work is slow, and your eyes grow tired, but you do not stop. The numbers are a language, and you are learning to speak it. The lady brings you bread and ale at midday, and you eat at the desk, and you continue. The afternoon is spent in the storerooms. The lady has given you the task of inventorying the dried fish. You count the stacks of stockfish, the cod that have been dried in the wind and the sun. They are hard and brittle, and they smell of the sea. You touch them, and they are rough, and you count them, and the numbers grow. The work is slow, and your mind drifts, And you think of the fishermen who caught these fish, of the boats that carried them, of the markets where they were sold. You think of the road that brought you here, of the snow that buried it, of the castle that shelters you. You are not unhappy. The work is a kind of prayer, and the prayer is a kind of peace. The bell rings for vespers, and you go to the chapel. The candles are lit, and the incense is thick, and the chant rises and falls. You kneel in the back, and you listen. You are not praying, you are resting, and the resting is a kind of prayer. After vespers, you go to the great hall. The fire is high, and the tables are being laid for supper. The knights are drinking ale, and the servants are bringing food, and the children are chasing the dog. The lord sits in his chair, and the lady sits beside him, and you take a place at the end of the table. The meal is pottage and bread and ale, and you eat slowly, and you watch the hall, and you feel the warmth of the fire on your face. Sir Thomas tells a story about a hunt. He speaks of a stag that led him through the forest for 3 days, of the dogs that lost the scent, of the snow that covered the tracks. He speaks of the cold, of the hunger, of the moment when he saw the stag, still and proud, and he could not raise his bow. He let it go. The hall is silent, and the fire crackles, and the knights nod. The lord drinks his ale, and he does not speak, but his eyes are soft. You climb to your tower room as the light fades. The window is dark and the fire is low, and you add a log and watch the flames. You sit on the bed and you open the ledger, and you read. The numbers are a map, and the map is the castle, and the castle is a world. You are not tired, you are learning, and the learning is a kind of warmth. You lie down, and you pull the furs to your chin, and you close your eyes. The wind moves through the battlements, and the snow is still and the silence is deep. You are not afraid. You are home. The bell rings, and you sleep. The winter deepens in the second week of December, and the snow does not stop. It falls in the morning, when the light is grey, and it falls in the afternoon, when the light is darker, and it falls in the night, when the only sound is the soft hiss of flakes against the window. You wake each morning to a world that is whiter than it was the day before, and the drifts rise against the walls, and the paths to the stables and the well must be dug anew. The great hall becomes the centre of everything. The fire is fed constantly, and the flames leap, and the heat is a presence that holds the cold at bay. The knights sit near the hearth, their chairs pulled close, their boots stretched toward the warmth. The servants gather on benches, their hands busy with mending and spinning. The children play on the rushes, their voices loud, their laughter a counterpoint to the howl of the wind. You have been given a new task. The lady leads you to a corner of the hall where a tapestry hangs, old and faded, its colours dimmed by smoke and age. It shows a hunt, riders in blue and gold, dogs leaping, a stag at bay. The fabric is worn, and in places the threads have come loose, and the lady says, "This tapestry was woven by my grandmother's grandmother. It has hung here for 100 years. But it is fraying, and the moths have found it. You will mend it." She hands you a needle and a spool of wool thread, and she shows you how to weave the needle through the warp and weft, how to match the colours, how to knot the thread so that the mend will hold. The work is slow and your fingers are clumsy, and the lady corrects you gently. But you learn, and the tapestry begins to heal. The great hall is never empty. The fire crackles, and the smoke rises, and the light from the flames plays on the stone walls. The Lord sits in his chair, his eyes on the flames, his hands still. He does not speak often, but when he does, his voice is low and his words are few. He says, "The snow will stop when it is ready. We cannot hurry it, we can only wait." You nod, and you return to your needle. The lady spins wool. She sits on a stool near the hearth, a spindle in her hands, and the wool twists and turns, and the thread grows. She does not look at her hands. She looks at the fire, or at the children, or at the tapestry. She says, "Spinning is a kind of prayer. You make something from nothing. You turn the raw into the useful. It is the work of the woman, and it is the work of God." You watch her, and you learn, and the spindle turns. The knights play chess. Sir Richard and Sir William sit at a small table, the board between them, the pieces carved from bone. They move slowly, and they think, and they do not speak. The game can last for hours, and the other knights watch, and the servants watch, and the children watch. Sir Richard wins more often than Sir William, but Sir William does not seem to mind. He laughs, and he says, "The old fox knows every trick. I will beat him one day." Sir Richard does not smile, but his eyes crinkle, and that is the same. The minstrel plays his harp in the evenings. He has been stranded by the snow, and he will stay until the roads open. He knows 100 songs, maybe more, and he plays them slowly, and the notes hang in the air like smoke. He sings of knights and ladies, of battles and quests, of love and loss. His voice is thin, but the hall is quiet, and the words carry. You close your eyes and you listen, and the music fills you. You spend your mornings in the tower room, reading the book of hours that the lady has lent you. The book is small, bound in leather, its pages illuminated with gold and blue. You turn the pages slowly, and you read the psalms, the prayers, the lives of the saints. You are not praying, but the words are a comfort, and the comfort is a kind of peace. The room is cold, and you wrap a blanket around your shoulders, and the candle flickers, and the wind howls outside. You are not afraid. The tower is solid, and the castle is strong, and you are inside it. In the afternoons, you work on the tapestry. The hunt scene slowly comes back to life, the threads that you have woven holding the loose ends together. The lady checks your work, and she nods, and she says, "You have a steady hand. The old tapestry is grateful." You do not know if a tapestry can be grateful, but you like the thought, and you continue. The children come to watch you sometimes. They stand behind your chair, their breath warm on your neck, and they ask questions. What is that? A dog? A horse? Why is the stag running? You answer them, and you tell them the story of the hunt, of the riders and the dogs and the stag that escaped. They listen, and their eyes are wide, and they do not move. You are not a storyteller, but the children do not seem to mind. They like the sound of your voice, and you like the sound of theirs. The priest, Father Michael, comes to the great hall in the afternoons. He reads from a book, a large book bound in wood and leather, and the knights and the servants gather to listen. He reads from the Gospels, from the Acts of the Apostles, from the letters of Paul. His voice is low and steady, and the words are Latin, but the meaning is there, beneath the words, like water beneath the ice. You listen, and you do not understand everything, but you understand enough. The fire crackles, and the shadows dance, and the words fill the hall. The Lord sometimes speaks after the reading. He says, "The snow will not last forever. The spring will come. The roads will open. The king will call, and we will answer." He does not say more, and no one asks. The knights know what he means. They have fought in France, and they will fight again. But for now, there is the fire, and the tapestry, and the silence. You dream of the hunt. You are riding a grey horse, and the dogs are running ahead, and the stag is a flash of brown in the white. You are not hunting. You are watching, and the stag is watching you. It stops and it turns, and its eyes are dark and deep. You wake, and the fire is low and the room is cold. You add a log, and the flames leap, and the room warms. You lie in the bed and you think of the stag, and you are not afraid. The days blend together. You wake, you eat, you read, you mend, you pray, you eat, you sleep. The snow falls, and the wind blows, and the fire crackles. The tapestry grows, the torn threads replaced, the colors brightening. The lady says, "You have saved it. The moths will not eat it now." You look at the hunt scene, the riders and the dogs and the stag, and you feel a kind of pride, though pride is not something you have felt in a long time. The minstrel plays a song about a lady who waited for her knight to return from the Crusades. She waited for 10 years, and then she died, and when he returned, he found her grave. The song is sad, and the hall is silent, and the fire crackles. The lady wipes her eyes with her sleeve, and the Lord stares into the flames. You are not crying, but your throat is tight, and you swallow, and you do not speak. Sir Thomas asks you about the city. He has never been to a city, and he wants to know what it is like. You tell him about the streets, the noise, the crowds, the smells. You tell him about the markets, the churches, the taverns. He listens, and his eyes are wide, and he says, "It sounds like a different world." You say, "It is a different world." This is a different world. He nods, and he looks at the fire, and he is quiet. The snow stops on the 3rd day of January. You wake to a silence that is different. A silence that is not the silence of falling snow, but the silence of stillness. The window is bright, and the sun is shining, and the world is white and blue. You go to the great hall, and the fire is high, and the Lord is standing by the window looking out. He says, "The snow has stopped, but the road is buried. We will not see a traveler for weeks." He is not sad, he is patient. The winter is a teacher, and he is a slow student, but he is learning. You return to your tower room, and you open the Book of Hours, and you read. The words are the same words, but they sound different in the sunlight. Domine, labia mea paris. Lord, open my lips. You close the book, and you go to the tapestry, and you weave. The hunt scene is almost finished. The stag at bay, the dogs circling, the riders drawing their bows. You knot the last thread, and you cut the loose ends, and you sit back. The lady comes to see, and she touches the tapestry, and she says, "It is good. The old tapestry will hang for another 100 years." You are not sure if that is true, but you hope it is. The fire crackles, and the wind is still, and the castle is quiet. You are not thinking of the road, of the journey, of the reasons that brought you here. You are thinking of the tapestry, of the Book of Hours, of the minstrel's song. You are thinking of the children's laughter, of the knight's stories, of the lady's hands. You are thinking of now. You lie on the bed, and you pull the furs to your chin, and you close your eyes. The wind moves through the battlements, and the snow is still, and the silence is deep. You are not afraid. You are home. The bell rings, and you sleep. The tower room is your sleep. The tower room is your secret. You found it in the first week of December, when the snow was still falling, and you were exploring the corridors that branch off from the great hall like roots from a tree. The door is low, set into the thickness of the wall, and you would have missed it if the lady had not pointed it out. That room was the Lord's Father's study, she said. No one uses it now. The stairs are steep, and the old man liked his privacy. But you may go there if you wish. It is cold, but there is a hearth. You thanked her, and you climbed the stairs, and you opened the door. The room is round because it is in one of the towers, and the walls are curved, and the ceiling is high. The window is narrow, a slit cut into the stone, and it looks out over the forest, white and still. A wooden desk stands against the wall, and a chair sits before it, its seat worn smooth. Shelves line the walls, empty except for a layer of dust. A small hearth is set into the curved wall, and a pile of kindling and logs is stacked beside it. You lit a fire that first day, and the smoke rose, and the room warmed, and you knew that you would come back. The room becomes your place. You go there after prime, when the morning light is grey and the great hall is busy with breakfast, and the servants are sweeping the rushes. You climb the spiral staircase, your hand on the cold stone, and you open the door, and you are alone. The fire is already laid, because you laid it the night before, and you strike a spark, and the kindling catches, and the flames leap. You sit in the chair, and you look out the window, and you watch the snow. The lady has given you a Book of Hours. It is small, bound in leather, its pages illuminated with gold and blue and red. The words are Latin, and your Latin is slow. But you know the Psalms from the church, and you can follow the shape of the prayers. You open the book to the first page, and you read, Domini, labia mea aperis. Lord, open my lips. The words are a whisper, and the fire crackles, and the wind moves through the window slit. You are not praying, not exactly. You are reading, and the reading is a kind of prayer, and the prayer is a kind of silence. The book has paintings. The illuminations are small, tucked into the margins, and they show scenes from the life of Christ, from the lives of the saints, from the stories of the Old Testament. You study them, your finger tracing the lines, the colours, the gold leaf that catches the firelight. There is a painting of St. George and the dragon, the saint, on a white horse, the dragon coiled at his feet. There is a painting of the Virgin Mary, her head bowed, her hands folded, a halo of gold around her hair. There is a painting of David with his sling, the giant Goliath falling before him. You do not know if you believe the stories, but the paintings are beautiful, and the beauty is a kind of truth. The room is cold, even with the fire. The stone walls hold the chill, and your breath steams, and you wrap a blanket around your shoulders. The blanket is woolen, brown and rough, and it smells of smoke and sheep. You pull it tight, and you turn the page, and you read, Miserere me, Deus, secundum magnam misericordiam tuum. Have mercy on me, God, according to your great mercy. The words are old, and they have been read by 100 hands, and the pages are soft, and the ink is faded. You are not the first to read this book, and you will not be the last. The book is a chain, and the chain is unbroken. The fire burns low, and you add a log, and the flames leap. The room warms, and you lean back in the chair, and you look out the window. The forest is white, the trees heavy with snow, and the sky is grey. You cannot see the lake, but you know it is there, frozen, hidden beneath the snow. You think of the fish that swim beneath the ice, and the birds that have flown south, and the animals that sleep in their dens. The castle is not the only thing that is waiting. The whole world is waiting. The whole world is patient. You hear footsteps on the stairs, and you turn. The door opens, and the lady enters, a basket over her arm. She says, I thought I would find you here. The Lord's father spent many hours in this room. He was a scholar, or so they say. He read Latin and Greek, and he wrote letters to the king. He was a strange man, but he was kind. She sets the basket on the desk, and she takes out a loaf of bread, a piece of cheese, a small jar of honey. You will need to eat. The dinner bell will not ring for hours. She smiles, and she leaves, and you are alone again. You eat the bread and the cheese, and you dip the bread in the honey, and the taste is sweet and rich. You are not hungry, but you eat anyway because the food is a gift, and the gift is meant to be accepted. You drink water from the cup that you brought from the great hall, and the water is cold, and the cold is a reminder that you are alive. You return to the book, you turn the pages, and you read the prayers for the hours of the day, the prayers that the monks chant in their monasteries, the prayers that the priests whisper in their chapels. You are not a monk, and you are not a priest. But the words are there, and you read them, and the reading is a kind of belonging. You belong to the book, and the book belongs to the castle, and the castle belongs to the winter. The afternoon passes. The light fades, and the fire burns low, and you add another log. You read the Psalms, and you study the paintings, and you watch the snow fall through the window. The snow is soft and silent, and the flakes are small, and they settle on the stone sill. You do not brush them away. You let them melt, and the water drips onto the floor, and the sound is a small music. The bell rings for vespers, and you close the book. You stand, and you stretch, and your back aches from sitting. You leave the tower room, and you climb down the spiral staircase, and you go to the chapel. The candles are lit, and the incense is thick, and the chant rises and falls. You kneel in the back, and you listen. You are not praying. You are resting, and the resting is a kind of prayer. After vespers, you go to the great hall. The fire is high, and the tables are being laid for supper. The knights are drinking ale, and the servants are bringing food, and the children are chasing the dog. The lord sits in his chair, and the lady sits beside him, and you take a place at the end of the table. The meal is pottage and bread and ale, and you eat slowly, and you watch the hall, and you feel the warmth of the fire on your face. Sir John speaks. He is the silent knight, the one who watches everything and says nothing. But tonight he speaks. He says, I was in the Holy Land. I saw the desert, and the mountains, and the sea. I saw the places where Christ walked. I was young then, and I thought I would find God. I did not find God. I found sand and heat and death. The hall is silent, and the fire crackles. He says, I came back, and I have not spoken of it, but tonight I will speak. The desert is a teacher. It teaches you that you are small, and that the world is large, and that God is not found in places. He is found in the silence. He drinks his ale, and he does not speak again. You think about the tower room, the book of hours, the fire in the hearth. You think about the silence, and the way it is not empty, and the way it holds you like a blanket. You are not in the desert, but you are in the winter, and the winter is a kind of desert, and the silence is the same. After supper, you climb to the tower room. The fire has burned out, and the room is cold. You light it again, and the flames leap, and the room warms. You sit in the chair, and you open the Book of Hours. You read the prayers for Compline, the last prayers of the day. In manus tuas, Domine, commendo spiritum meum. Into your hands, Lord, I commend my spirit. The words are old, and they have been said by 1,000 lips, and you say them now, and the saying is a kind of sleep. You close the book, and you blow out the candle. The room is dark, and the only light is the glow of the fire. You sit in the darkness, and you listen. The wind moves through the window slit, and the snow taps against the glass, and the silence is deep. You are not afraid. You are not alone. The book is with you, and the fire is with you, and the castle is with you. You lie down on the floor in front of the hearth. You have brought a blanket and a pillow, and you make a bed of the rushes. The stone is hard, but the fire is warm, and you curl up, and you close your eyes. You dream of the book. The pages turn, and the letters are gold, and the paintings are alive. St. George rides his horse, and the dragon breathes fire, and the Virgin bows her head. You are not in the dream. You are watching, and the watching is a kind of prayer. You wake before dawn. The fire has burned low, and the room is cold. You add a log, and the flames leap, and the room is cold. You add a log, and the flames leap, and the room warms. You sit in the chair, and you look out the window. The sky is grey, and the snow has stopped, and the stars are fading. You open the Book of Hours, and you read the prayers for lords, the prayers of the morning. Deus in adiutorium meum untend. God, come to my assistance. The words are a whisper, and the fire crackles, and the wind is still. You spend the morning in the tower room. The lady does not call for you. The steward does not need you. The tapestry is finished. You have nothing to do but read and watch and listen. You read the Psalms, and you study the paintings, and you watch the snow fall. The snow is soft and silent, and the flakes are small, and they settle on the stone sill. You do not brush them away. You let them melt, and the water drips onto the floor, and the sound is a small music. The bell rings for sext, and you close the book. You go to the chapel, and you kneel in the back, and you listen. The chant rises and falls, and the candles flicker, and the shadows dance walls, and the candles flicker, and the shadows dance. You are not praying. You are resting, and the resting is a kind of prayer. You eat dinner in the great hall. The meal is bread and cheese and ale, and you eat with the servants, and the talk is low and easy. The cook tells a story about a winter when the wolves came down from the hills and circled the castle for a week. She says, the knights shot arrows at them, but the wolves were too far. They howled every night, and the children were afraid. But the walls held, and the wolves left. You listen, and you eat, and the fire crackles. You return to the tower room. The fire has burned low, and you add a log. You sit in the chair, and you open the Book of Hours. You read the prayers for none, the prayers of the afternoon. Benecite omnia opera Domini. Bless the Lord, all you works of the Lord. The words are a song, and the song is the forest, and the lake, and the snow. You are not praying, you are singing, and the singing is a kind of prayer. The afternoon passes. The light fades, and the fire burns low, and you add another log. You read the Psalms, and you study the paintings, and you watch the snow fall through the window. The snow is soft and silent, and the flakes are small, and they settle on the stone sill. You do not brush them away. You let them melt, and the water drips onto the floor, and the sound is a small music. The bell rings for vespers, and you close the book. You go to the chapel, and you kneel in the back, and you listen. The chant rises and falls, and the candles flicker, and the shadows dance. You are not praying. You are resting, and the resting is a kind of prayer. After supper, you return to the tower room. The fire is high, and the room is warm. You sit in the chair, and you open the Book of Hours. You read the prayers for Compline, the last prayers of the day. Nunc dimittis servum tuum, Domine. Now dismiss your servant, Lord. The words are a whisper, and the fire crackles, and the wind is still. You close the book, and you blow out the candle. The room is dark, and the only light is the glow of the fire. You lie down on the floor, and you pull the blanket to your chin, and you close your eyes. You dream of the tower room. The fire is high, and the book is open, and the paintings are alive. St. George rides his horse, and the dragon breathes fire, and the Virgin bows her head. You are sitting in the chair, and you are reading, and the words are gold, and the silence is deep. You are not afraid. You are home. The bell rings for matins, and you wake. The fire has burned low, and the room is cold. You add a log, and the flames leap, and the room warms. You sit in the chair, and you look out the window. The sky is black, and the stars are bright, and the snow has stopped. You open the Book of Hours, and you read the prayers for matins, the prayers of the night. Domine, labia mea pares. Lord, open my lips. The words are a whisper, and the fire crackles, and the wind is still. You are not praying, you are reading, and the reading is a kind of prayer, and the prayer is a kind of home. The wind rises in the night. You wake to a sound that is not the sound of snow, not the sound of silence, but a deep, groaning roar that seems to come from the walls themselves. The tower room is dark, and the fire has burned to embers, and the only light is the faint blow of the coals. You lie still, and you listen, and the wind presses against the stone, and the window rattles, and the tapestries on the walls shiver. You are not afraid. The castle has stood for 300 years. It has weathered worse storms than this. You rise before dawn, and you dress in the dark, and you go down the spiral staircase. The corridor is cold, and the torches have blown out, and you feel your way along the wall. The great hall is crowded when you reach it. The servants have brought pallets and blankets, and the knights are sitting by the fire, and the children are huddled with the lady. The Lord stands by the window, looking out at the white, his face still. He says, "The storm has come, the road is gone, the well is buried, we will be sealed off until it passes." He does not sound afraid. He sounds like a man who has seen storms before. The day is a blur of grey light and howling wind. The snow falls so thickly that you cannot see the courtyard from the window, cannot see the stables, cannot see the wall. The servants dig tunnels to the kitchen and the chapel, and the snow is piled so high that the tunnels have walls of white. The fire is fed constantly, and the woodpile shrinks, and the lady counts the logs and plans. You help her carry water from the well before the drifts close it off, and the buckets are heavy, and your arms ache, and the water slops over the rim and freezes on the stones. The children are frightened. The youngest, a girl of 5, clings to the lady's skirts and will not let go. The older ones sit by the fire, their eyes wide, and they do not speak. You sit with them, and you tell them a story that you remember from your own childhood, about a bear who slept through the winter and woke to find the snow gone and the flowers blooming. They listen, and their breathing slows, and the youngest falls asleep against your shoulder. You do not move. You hold her, and you watch the fire, and the wind howls. A horse dies in the stable. The groom comes to the great hall, his face white, his hands shaking. He says, "The old mare. The cold was too much for her. She is gone." The Lord nods, and he sends men to butcher the horse, to salt the meat, to store it in the cellars. You do not go to the stables. You do not want to see, but you hear the men talking, and you know that the meat will feed the castle for weeks, and that the mare's death is a gift, even if it does not feel like one. The lady attends a birth. One of the servant women has gone into labor, and the lady takes her to a chamber off the great hall, and you hear the woman's cries, and the lady's low voice, and the priest's prayers. You sit by the fire, and you wait, and the wind howls, and the snow falls. The child is born in the afternoon, a boy, small and red and crying. The lady comes to the hall, her hands washed, her face tired, and she says, "A healthy boy, the first child born in this castle in 3 years." She smiles, and the knights raise their cups, and the servants cheer. The Lord nods, and he says, "The winter has given us a gift." The storm lasts for 3 days. On the 2nd day, the firewood runs low, and the Lord sends men to the shed to bring more. They dig a tunnel through the snow, and the tunnel collapses, and a man is buried. The others dig him out, and he is cold and shaken, but he is alive. The wood is brought to the hall, and the fire burns high, and the Lord says, "We are lucky, the castle has held." You are not sure if it is luck. You are not sure if it is God. You are only sure that you are warm, and that the fire is bright, and that the wind is still howling. On the third day, the wind stops. You wake to a silence that is different from the silence of the storm, a silence that is empty and full at the same time. The window is bright, and the sun is shining, and the world is white and blue. You go to the great hall, and the Lord is standing by the window looking out. He says, "The storm has passed, the road is buried, but the castle is safe." He does not smile, but his eyes are soft, and you know that he is grateful. The snow is deep, deeper than you have ever seen. The drifts reach the windows of the ground floor, and the courtyard is a white bowl, and the stables are hidden. The servants dig tunnels to the well and the chapel, and the work is slow, and the men are tired, but they do not stop. You help them, your hands cold, your back aching, and the snow is heavy, and the shovels are dull. But you dig, and the tunnel grows, and the well is uncovered, and the water is sweet. The lady takes stock of the stores. The horse meat is salted and stored, and the barrels of herring are still full, and the flour is dry, and the ale is sour, but drinkable. She says, "We have enough. The winter will not starve us." You are relieved, and you help her count the candles, the linens, the arrowheads. The work is slow, and your fingers are stiff, but you do not mind. The storm has passed, and the castle is still standing, and you are still alive. The children play in the great hall. They have been cooped up for days, and they run between the tables, and they chase the dog, and their laughter is loud. The lady does not scold them. She watches them, and she smiles, and she says, "They are young, they do not understand the danger. They only know that the snow is deep and the fire is warm." You watch them, and you think of the child who was born during the storm, and you wonder what his life will be like, and whether he will remember the storm, or whether it will be a story that his mother tells him. The knights play chess. Sir Richard and Sir William sit at the small table, the board between them, the pieces carved from bone. They move slowly, and they think, and they do not speak. The game lasts for hours, and the other knights watch, and the servants watch, and the children watch. Sir Richard wins, and Sir William laughs, and he says, "The old fox. One day I will beat you." Sir Richard does not smile, but his eyes crinkle, and that is the same. The minstrel plays his harp in the evening. He has been stranded by the snow, and he will stay until the roads open. He knows 100 songs, maybe more, and he plays them slowly, and the notes hang in the air like smoke. He sings of the sea, of waves and wind, and the cry of gulls. You close your eyes, and you listen, and the music fills you, and the storm is a memory, and the memory is a kind of peace. You climb to your tower room as the light fades. The window is dark and the fire is low, and you add a log and watch the flames. You sit on the bed, and you look out at the courtyard. The snow is deep, and the stars are bright, and the moon is a thin crescent. You are not thinking of the storm, of the wind, of the horse that died. You are thinking of the child who was born, of the lady's smile, of the Lord's soft eyes. You are thinking of the silence after the storm, and the way it held you, and the way you held it. You open the book of hours. You turn the pages, and you read the prayers for Compline, the last prayers of the day. In manis tuas, Domine, commendo spiritum meum. Into your hands, Lord, I commend my spirit. The words are old, and they have been said by 1,000 lips, and you say them now, and the saying is a kind of sleep. You close the book, and you blow out the candle. The room is dark, and the only light is the glow of the fire. You lie down on the bed, and you pull the furs to your chin, and you close your eyes. You dream of the storm. The wind is howling, and the snow is falling, and you are standing on the battlements, looking out at the white. The world is gone, and there is only the castle, and the castle is a ship, and the snow is the sea. You are not afraid. The castle holds, and you hold, and the storm passes. You wake before dawn. The fire has burned low, and the room is cold. You add a log, and the flames leap, and the room warms. You go to the window, and you look out at the courtyard. The snow is still deep, but the sky is clear, and the stars are fading, and the sun will rise soon. You are not the same person who entered the castle before the storm. You have been shaped by the wind and the snow and the silence. You are stronger or weaker. You do not know. You are different, and the difference is a kind of gift. You go to the great hall. The fire is high, and the servants are laying the tables for breakfast. The Lord is sitting in his chair, his eyes on the flames. The lady is directing the maids, her voice low and calm. The children are chasing the dog, and the knights are drinking ale, and the minstrel is tuning his harp. The castle is alive, and you are part of it. The storm has passed, and the winter continues, and you are here. You eat breakfast, and you help the lady with the stores, and you read in the tower room, and you mend a tear in the tapestry. The day passes, and the night comes, and the fire crackles, and the wind is still. You are not afraid. You are home. The bell rings, and you sleep. The feast of the Nativity arrives in the darkest week of the year, when the sun barely climbs above the trees, and the shadows are long and blue. You have been counting the days on a scrap of parchment, marking them with a piece of charcoal, because the lady asked you to keep track of the time until the feast. She said, "The children need something to look forward to. The knights need something to celebrate. We all need the light." You have been helping her prepare for weeks, turning the bacon, checking the ale, counting the candles. Now the day is here, and the castle is transformed. The great hall has been decorated with garlands of holly and ivy, the berries red against the green. The tapestries have been taken down and beaten, and the colours seem brighter, the gold thread catching the firelight. A great boar's head sits on a silver platter at the high table, its tusks white, its snout garlanded with rosemary. The cook, Elspeth, has been working since dawn, and a smell of roasting meat fills every corridor. The lady has brought out her best linen, and the tablecloths are white and clean. The servants wear their cleanest tunics, and the knights have polished their boots, and the children have been scrubbed and combed, and dressed in their finest. You help the lady arrange the candles. They are beeswax, not tallow, and they burn clean and bright, and their light is golden. She sets them on the high table, on the sideboard, on the window-sills. She says the light is a prayer. We light these candles to welcome the Christ child, but also to welcome the sun. The old people believed that the light would grow stronger if we honored it. You do not know if you believe the old people, but you light the candles, and the flames flicker, and the hall glows. The Lord wears a tunic of dark blue wool, embroidered with silver thread at the collar and cuffs. He sits in his high-backed chair, and he watches the preparations, and he does not speak, but his eyes are soft, and his hands are still, and you know that he is pleased. The lady wears a gown of red velvet, a colour you have never seen her wear before, and a silver chain hangs from her belt. She moves through the hall, checking the tables, speaking to the servants, and her voice is low and calm. The knights come to the hall in their best clothes. Sir Richard has polished his boots until they shine, and his scar seems less fierce in the candlelight. Sir Thomas has combed his red hair, and his freckles are bright. Sir William is wearing a tunic that is too small for him, and the buttons strain, and the other knights tease him. Sir John is silent as always, but he has washed his face and his hands, and that is something. Sir Geoffrey is awake, and his eyes are sharp, and he is smiling. The minstrel tunes his harp. He has been practicing a new song, a song of the Nativity, of the shepherds and the angels and the star. He plays a few notes, and the sound is sweet, and the children stop their running to listen. The lady brings out the wassail bowl, a great wooden bowl carved with vines and leaves, filled with warm ale and honey and spices. She sets it on the sideboard, and the servants ladle cups for everyone. The taste is sweet and warm, and the spices linger on your tongue. The feast begins at dusk. The Lord stands, and the hall falls silent. He raises his cup and he says, "Tonight we celebrate the birth of our Lord. Tonight we celebrate the light. Tonight we are together. That is a gift." He drinks, and the others drink, and the wassail is warm and the fire crackles. The servants bring the first course, a soup of leeks and barley, thick and rich, with bread fresh from the oven. You eat slowly, and you watch the hall, and the candles flicker. The second course is the boar's head. The cook carries it on the silver platter, and the knights cheer, and the children clap. The Lord carves it with a large knife, and the slices are thick and dark, and the smell of rosemary and roast meat fills the hall. You are served a portion, and the meat is tender, and the fat is sweet, and you eat it with bread and ale. You are not hungry, but you eat anyway, because the food is a gift, and the gift is meant to be accepted. The third course is a pie, a great pie filled with venison and bacon and dried apples. The crust is golden, and the steam rises when the lady cuts it. The servants serve it with a sauce of wine and ginger, and the taste is rich and strange. You eat slowly, and you watch the knights and the children and the fire. The minstrel plays his harp. He sings of the shepherds in the fields, of the angel who appeared to them, of the star that led the wise men. His voice is thin, but the hall is quiet, and the words carry. The children listen with their mouths open, and the lady wipes her eyes, and the Lord stares into the flames. You are not crying, but your throat is tight, and you swallow, and you do not speak. After the meal, the gifts are brought. The lady has made gloves for each of the knights, knitted from wool that she spun herself. Sir Richard's are grey, and Sir Thomas's are red, and Sir William's are too small. And he laughs. The Lord gives the lady a silver brooch, shaped like a bird in flight, and she pins it to her gown, and her eyes are bright. The children receive carved toys, a horse and a dog, and a small wooden sword, and they run through the hall shouting. You receive a book, a small book bound in leather. Its page is blank. The lady says, "You have been keeping a diary. Now you have a proper book to write in." You thank her, and you hold the book, and the leather is soft, and the pages are smooth. The knights dance. Sir Thomas takes the hand of one of the maids, and they step and turn, and the other knights join them. The minstrel plays a fast tune, and the children dance, and the servants dance, and the lady dances with Sir Richard, and the Lord watches, and his eyes are soft. You do not dance. You sit by the fire, and you watch, and the flames leap, and the candles burn low. The fool comes from the village. He is a thin man with a shaved head and a bell on his cap, and he juggles apples and tells jokes that are not funny. The children laugh anyway, and the knights laugh, and the servants laugh. The fool does a cartwheel, and his cap falls off, and the children chase it. The lady gives him a cup of wassail, and he drinks it, and he bows, and he leaves. The night deepens. The candles burn down, and the fire is fed, and the hall is warm. The children fall asleep on the rushes, and the servants carry them to their beds. The knights drink more ale, and their voices grow loud, and their stories grow longer. The Lord sits in his chair, his eyes half closed, his hands still. The lady sits beside him, her head on his shoulder, and they are quiet. You climb to your tower room as the light fades. The window is dark, and the fire is low, and you add a log and watch the flames. You sit on the bed, and you open the new book, and you dip the pen in the ink, and you write, December 25th, 1423, the Feast of the Nativity. The boar's head was roasted, and the wassail was sweet. The lady gave me this book. The knights danced. The children laughed. The fire was bright. I am not alone. The words sit on the page, dark and permanent, and you close the book and put it on the shelf. The fire crackles, and the wind rises, and the castle is warm. You lie down on the bed, and you pull the furs to your chin, and you close your eyes. The wind moves through the battlements, and the snow is still, and the silence is deep. You are not afraid. You are home. You dream of the feast. The hall is bright, and the candles are tall, and the boar's head is on the platter. The knights are dancing, and the children are laughing, and the lady is smiling. You are sitting by the fire, and the book is in your hands, and the pages are blank. You do not write. You watch, and the watching is a kind of prayer. You wake before dawn. The fire has burned low, and the room is cold. You add a log, and the flames leap, and the room warms. You go to the window, and you look out at the courtyard. The snow is deep, and the stars are bright, and the moon is a thin crescent. You are not the same person who entered the castle before the feast. You have been shaped by the food and the music and the laughter. You are stronger or weaker, you do not know. You are different, and the difference is a kind of gift. You go to the great hall. The fire is high, and the servants are clearing the tables. The knights are sleeping on benches, their heads on their arms, their mouths open. The children are still in their beds. The lord is sitting in his chair, his eyes on the flames. The lady is beside him, her hand on his arm. She looks up when you enter, and she smiles, and she says, "The feast is over." The winter continues, but the light has returned. You nod, and you sit by the fire, and you watch the flames. The day passes quietly. You read in the tower room, and you write in the new book, and you help the lady with the stores. The knights sleep, and the children play, and the minstrel packs his harp. The roads will open soon, and he will leave, and you will miss his songs. But for now there is the fire, and the silence, and the peace. The bell rings for vespers, and you go to the chapel. The candles are lit, and the incense is thick, and the chant rises and falls. You kneel in the back, and you listen. You are not praying, you are resting, and the resting and the guesting is a kind of prayer. After supper, you return to your tower room. The fire is high, and the room is warm. You sit in the chair, and you open the new book, and you read the words you wrote last night. I am not alone. You are not sure if it is true, but you are here, and the castle is here, and the winter is here, and that is enough. You close the book, and you blow out the candle. The room is dark, and the only light is the glow of the fire. You lie down on the bed, and you pull the furs to your chin, and you close your eyes. You dream of the light. The candles are burning, and the flames are tall, and the hall is bright. You are not afraid. You are not afraid. You are home. The bell rings, and you sleep. The traveller comes at the end of January, when the snow has begun to settle and the days are still short, but the light is no longer fading. You are in the great hall, mending a tier in one of the lesser tapestries, when the watchman's horn sounds from the gatehouse. The note is low and urgent, and the lord looks up from his chair, and the knights reach for their swords. The lady sets down her spindle, and she says, "Who would come in such weather?" The lord says, "Someone who has no choice." You follow the knights to the courtyard. The snow is deep, and the cold is intense, and your breath steams. The portcullis is raised, and the drawbridge is down, and a figure is crossing it, slowly, one step at a time. He is on foot, leading a horse that is limping, its head low. The man is wrapped in a dark cloak, and his face is hidden, and he does not speak. Sir Richard calls out, "Who goes there?" The man does not answer. He keeps walking, and the horse follows, and the snow falls on his shoulders. The knights surround him when he reaches the courtyard. He stops, and he raises his head, and you see his face. It is scarred, a web of lines that run from his temple to his jaw, and his eyes are pale and tired. He does not speak. He only looks at the Lord, and the Lord looks at him, and something passes between them that you cannot name. The Lord says, "You are welcome. Come inside. Warm yourself." The man nods, and he hands the reins of his horse to a groom, and he walks toward the great hall. The hall is warm, and the fire is high, and the man stands before it, his hands out, his eyes closed. His cloak is frozen, and it steams in the heat, and the ice melts from his beard. The lady brings him a cup of mulled wine, and he drinks it slowly, and the color returns to his cheeks. He does not speak. The knights watch him, and the servants watch him, and the children watch him from behind the lady's skirts. The Lord sits in his chair, and he says, "You are a knight. I can see it in your hands. What is your name?" The man opens his mouth, and no sound comes. He closes it, and he shakes his head. The lady says, "He cannot speak, or he will not." The Lord nods, and he says, "He will speak when he is ready. Give him a place by the fire." The man is given a chair near the hearth, and a blanket, and a bowl of pottage. He eats slowly, tearing the bread into small pieces, chewing each piece before swallowing. He does not look at anyone. He looks at the fire, and the flames leap. You sit at the end of the table, and you watch him, and you wonder where he has come from, and what he has seen, and why he does not speak. The days pass. The man stays in the great hall, sitting by the fire, eating what he is given, sleeping on a pallet that the servants lay for him. He does not speak. The knights try to talk to him, and he does not answer. The children bring him things, a carved horse, a piece of bread, a feather, and he takes them, and he holds them, and he does not smile. The lady brings him clean clothes, and he puts them on, and he gives her his old cloak, which is torn and stained. She mends it, and she hangs it by the fire to dry, and he watches her, and his eyes are soft. You learn his name from the cross that hangs around his neck. It is carved from olive wood, dark and smooth, and on the back someone has carved the name Geoffrey. You do not know if it is his name or the name of someone else. You do not ask. You sit near him sometimes, and you read from the Book of Hours, and you speak the words aloud, and he listens. You do not know if he understands the Latin, but he listens, and his breathing slows and his eyes close. The Lord speaks of him to the knights. He says, "I have seen men like him before, men who have been to the Holy Land, men who have seen things that cannot be spoken. They come back different. The war takes something from them, and they cannot get it back." Sir Richard nods and he says, "I have seen it too. In France. Men who were brave in battle and silent afterwards. The silence is a kind of wound. You listen, and you think of the man, and you wonder what wound he carries. One night the man speaks. It is after Compline, and the hall is dark, and the fire is low. You are sitting by the hearth, reading by the light of a single candle, and the man is sitting across from you, his hands folded, his eyes on the flames. He says, "I was in the Holy Land." His voice is hoarse and the words come slowly, as if they are being pulled from a deep well. You look up, and you do not speak. You wait. He says, "I was a knight in the service of the King of Jerusalem. I fought the Saracens. I saw the desert and the mountains and the sea. I saw the places where Christ walked. I thought I would find God. I did not find God. I found sand and heat and death." He stops, and he drinks from the cup of water that sits beside him. You wait. He says, "I was captured. They held me for a year. They did not torture me, not with fire or iron. They kept me in a cell with no light. They fed me bread and water, and they did not speak to me. The silence was the torture. I learned to live in the silence. I learned to forget my name, my life. When they released me, I could not speak. The words would not come. I have been walking for 3 years, and the words are only now returning." He looks at you, and his eyes are pale and tired. He says, "You read the prayers. I heard them. They reminded me of the words. They reminded me of the language. They reminded me that I am not dead." You do not know what to say, so you say nothing. You sit with him, and the fire crackles and the candle flickers, and the silence is deep. He says, "I will leave when the roads open. I will go to the coast, and I will take a ship, and I will go back to the Holy Land. I am not afraid. The silence is not an enemy. It is a teacher. It taught me that I am small, and that the world is large, and that God is not found in words. He is found in the silence." He does not speak again that night. You sit with him until the candle burns down, and then you go to your tower room. You lie on the bed, and you pull the furs to your chin, and you think of his words. The silence is not an enemy. It is a teacher. You have been learning from the silence all winter, and you did not know it. The silence of the castle, the silence of the snow, the silence of the tower room. It has been teaching you to listen, to wait, to be still. You are grateful, and the gratitude is a kind of prayer. In the morning, the man is sitting by the fire, and the lady brings him bread and cheese. He eats slowly, and he does not speak. The knights nod to him, and he nods back. The children bring him a small wooden cross that they have carved, and he takes it, and he holds it, and he smiles. It is a small smile, barely a movement of his lips, but it changes his face, makes him look younger, softer. The lady says, "He will be all right, the words will come. The silence will not last forever." You hope she is right. The man stays for 2 weeks. He helps the knights chop wood, and he helps the servants carry water, and he helps the lady mend the tapestries. He does not speak often, but when he does, his voice is low and his words are few. He tells a story about the desert, about a night when the stars were so bright that he could see his shadow. He tells a story about a spring where the water was sweet and cold, and the palm trees were green, and the birds were singing. He tells a story about a monk who lived in a cave and ate only bread and water, and who smiled when he died. The stories are quiet and sad, and you listen, and the winter seems a little darker for knowing what the world holds. You read to him from the Book of Hours. He sits by the fire, and you sit beside him, and you read the Psalms, the prayers, the lives of the saints. He closes his eyes and he listens, and his breathing slows. You are not sure if he is praying, or resting, or remembering. You do not ask. The reading is a kind of gift, and the gift is meant to be given. The roads open in the second week of February. The snow melts and the mud is thick, but the travelers begin to appear. The man watches them from the window, and his eyes are distant. He says, "I will leave tomorrow. I will go to the coast. The ship will take me to the Holy Land. I will find the silence again, and the silence will hold me." You do not ask him to stay. You know that he cannot. He leaves at dawn. You stand at the gate with the lord and the lady and the knights. The man mounts his horse, which has healed, and he looks back at the castle. He says, "Thank you. The silence of this place has healed me. I will remember it." He turns and he rides down the drawbridge, and the snow is melting, and the road is brown, and he disappears into the forest. You watch him go, and you are not sad. He is going where he needs to go. You are staying where you needs to stay. You go to the great hall, and you sit by the fire, and you open the Book of Hours. You read the Psalms, and you think of the man, and you pray for him. You are not sure if you believe in prayer, but the prayer is a kind of hope, and the hope is a kind of light. You climb to your tower room, and you open the new book, and you dip the pen in the ink, and you write, February 10th, 1424. The silent knight has left. He was a crusader. He was captured and held in a cell with no light. He learned to live in the silence. He said that God is found in the silence. I am learning to listen. I am not afraid. The words sit on the page, dark and permanent, and you close the book and put it on the shelf. The fire crackles and the wind rises and the castle is warm. You lie down on the bed, and you pull the furs to your chin, and you close your eyes. The wind moves through the battlements, and the snow is melting, and the silence is deep. You are not afraid. You are home. You dream of the silent night. He is riding through the forest, and the snow is melting, and the birds are singing. He is not looking back. He is looking forward, toward the sea, toward the Holy Land, toward the silence. You are not with him. You are in the castle, and the fire is bright, and the book is open, and the words are gold. You are not afraid. You are home. The bell rings, and you sleep. The days grow longer in the second week of February. You notice it first in the tower room, where the window that has been dark at mid-afternoon now holds a pale golden light until almost supper time. The snow does not stop falling, but it falls differently, softer, wetter, and the drifts begin to sink. The icicles that hang from the battlements drip in the afternoon, and the sound is a small music, a tinkling that you have not heard for months. The lady says, "The thaw has begun. The winter is not over, but it is ending. The light is returning." You help her take stock of the stores again. The herring barrels are half empty, and the bacon is low, and the flour is running out. But the lady is not worried. She says, "The roads will open soon. The merchants will come. The king's messengers will come. The king's messengers will come. The castle will wake." You nod, and you write the numbers in the ledger, and you feel a strange sadness. The winter has been long, but it has been peaceful, and you are not sure that you want it to end. The children feel it too. They have grown used to the great hall, to the fire, to the stories. They run less, and they sit more, and they watch the windows. The youngest asks the lady, "When will the snow be gone?" The lady says, "Soon. The sun is stronger now, you can see it in the light." The child nods, and she presses her face against the glass, and she watches the drips. The knights begin to talk of leaving. Sir Thomas will go to his father's castle to help with the spring planting. Sir William will return to his wife, who is expecting a child. Sir Richard will stay. He has nowhere else to go. The Lord says, "The winter has kept us together. The spring will scatter us. That is the way of things." He does not sound sad. He sounds like a man who has seen many winters and many springs. The minstrel leaves on a Tuesday. The roads are still muddy, but they are passable, and he has been stranded for 3 months. He stands in the courtyard, his harp on his back, his pack on his shoulders. He says, "I will remember this castle. I will remember this castle. I will write a song about it, a song of the winter, of the fire, of the silence." The lady gives him a purse of coins, and the lord nods, and the knights shake his hand. He plays one last tune, a soft melody that rises and falls like the wind, and then he walks down the drawbridge, and he is gone. You watch him go, and you feel the silence of his absence. The great hall seems emptier without his harp, without his songs, but the fire still crackles, and the children still laugh, and the lady still spins. The silence is not empty. It is full of the memory of his music. The snow melts in the 3rd week of February. The courtyard becomes a river of mud, and the servants lay down straw to soak it up. The well is uncovered, and the water is sweet, and the horses drink. The first travellers appear on the road, merchants with pack mules, pilgrims with staffs. The gate is open, and the drawbridge is down, and the castle is no longer sealed. The lady welcomes them, gives them bread and ale, sends them on their way. She says, "The winter is over. The world is waking." You go to the tower room, and you look out the window. The forest is still white, but the white is patchy, and the ground is brown in places. You see a bird, a crow, and it caws, and the sound is loud in the silence. You have not heard a crow for months, and the sound is a reminder that the world is still there, that the winter has not erased it. You open the Book of Hours. You turn the pages, and you read the prayers for the season of Lent, which is approaching. Cor contritum et humiliatum veos, non despisces, a broken and humbled heart. God you will not despise. The words are new, and you read them slowly, and the meaning is there, beneath the words, like water beneath the ice. You are not sure if your heart is broken, but it is humbled, and the humbling is a kind of prayer. The lady begins to plan for the spring. She says, "The gardens must be planted, the sheep must be brought down from the hills, the stores must be replenished." She gives you a list of tasks, and you help her, and the work is a kind of hope. The winter has been a time of waiting, but the spring is a time of doing, and you are ready to do. The Lord speaks to you one evening. He is sitting by the fire, his hands still, his eyes on the flames. He says, "You have been here for months. You have worked, and you have kept silent. You are not the same person who arrived. The winter has changed you." You say, "The winter has changed me." He says, "Are you glad?" You say, "I am glad." He nods, and he drinks his ale, and he does not speak again. The thaw continues. The snow retreats from the walls, and the grass appears, brown and wet. The first flowers come in the 1st week of March, small white snowdrops that push through the mud. The children bring them to the lady, and she puts them in a cup of water, and she sets them on the window-sill. The light catches them, and they glow, and you think that you have never seen anything so beautiful. The knights begin to leave. Sir Thomas goes first, riding south, his red hair bright against the grey sky. Sir William follows, laughing, promising to return. Sir Geoffrey is too old to travel, and he stays, sleeping in his chair by the fire. Sir John goes without a word, riding alone, his pale eyes fixed on the horizon. The Lord watches them go, and his face is still, but his hands are clenched. The lady says, "They will come back. They always come back." You hope that she is right. You spend your last days in the tower room. The fire is low, and the room is cold, but you do not light it. You sit in the chair, wrapped in a blanket, and you look out the window. The forest is waking. The birds are singing, and the squirrels are running, and the snow is almost gone. You open the Book of Hours, and you read the prayers for the end of winter, for the coming of spring. Benedicite omnia opera Domini. Bless the Lord, all you works of the Lord. The words are a song, and the song is the forest, and the lake, and the sky. The lady calls you to the great hall. She says, "The roads are open. You can leave whenever you wish. The Lord has said that you are welcome to stay, but he will not keep you." You do not answer. You look at the fire, at the tapestries, at the children. You look at the Lord sitting in his chair, his eyes on the flames. You look at the lady, her hands folded, her face calm. You say, "I will stay a little longer." She smiles and she says, "The castle will be glad to have you." The spring comes slowly, but it comes. The snow is gone by the middle of March, and the grass is green, and the trees are budding, the gardens are planted, and the sheep are brought down from the hills, and the stores are replenished. The castle is no longer a winter fortress. It is a home, and you are part of it. You go to the tower room, and you open the new book, and you dip the pen in the ink, and you write, March 20th, 1424. The thaw has come. The snow is gone. The knights have left, but the lady stays, and the lord stays, and the children stay. I am staying. The winter has changed me. I am not the same. I am not afraid. The words sit on the page, dark and permanent, and you close the book and put it on the shelf. The fire crackles, and the wind is still, and the castle is warm. You lie down on the bed, and you pull the furs to your chin, and you close your eyes. The wind moves through the battlements, and the snow is gone, and the silence is deep. You are not afraid. You are home. You dream of the spring. The flowers are blooming, and the birds are singing, and the sun is warm. You are walking in the forest, and the path is dry, and the moss is green. You see the elk, the cow, and the calf, and they are grazing in a clearing, and they look up when you pass, and they do not run. You are not afraid. You are home. The bell rings for matins, and you wake. The fire has burned low, and the room is cold. You add a log, and the flames leap, and the room warms. You go to the window, and you look out at the courtyard. The sky is grey, and the grass is green, and the trees are budding. The winter is over. The spring is here. You are here. You go to the great hall, and you sit by the fire, and you watch the light grow. The lady brings you bread and honey, and you eat slowly, and the honey is sweet. The Lord sits in his chair, his eyes on the flames. The children are playing, and the dog is barking, and the servants are sweeping. The castle is waking, and you are waking with it. The winter is over, the spring is here, and you are ready. You leave at the end of March, when the first flowers have opened in the meadow beyond the castle walls, and the last patches of snow have melted from the northern slopes. The morning is grey and soft, and the air smells of wet earth and new grass, and the birds are singing in a way that you have not heard since autumn. Your horse is saddled, your pack is full of bread and cheese and dried meat, and the lady has given you a small flask of wine for the road. She stands at the gate with the Lord and the children and the servants, and her eyes are bright, and she says, "You will come back. The castle will be here." You nod, and you do not trust yourself to speak. The Lord shakes your hand. His grip is firm, and his eyes are tired, but there is warmth in them. He says you have been a good guest. The winter was long, but you helped to make it shorter. You thank him, and you mount your horse, and you look back at the castle. The towers are grey against the pale sky, and the windows are dark, and the smoke rises from the chimneys, thin and blue. You have been here for months, and the walls have become familiar, and the stones have become a kind of skin. You are not leaving a place. You are leaving a part of yourself. The drawbridge creaks under the horse's hooves, and you cross it, and you are on the road. The road is muddy, and the ruts are deep, and the horse picks its way carefully. You do not hurry. There is no need to hurry. There is no need to hurry. The spring is here, and the days are long, and the world is waking. You ride through the forest, and the trees are budding, and the moss is green, and the birds are singing. You see a hare, brown and fast, and it disappears into the undergrowth. You see a deer, a doe, and she watches you from the edge of the trees, and then she turns and walks away. You stop at the edge of the clearing where you first saw the castle. You turn in the saddle, and you look back. The castle is still there, smaller now, the towers rising above the trees. You can see the great hall, the chapel, the tower room where you spent so many hours reading and writing and watching the snow. You can see the courtyard, the well, the stables. You can see the smoke rising from the kitchen chimney, and you imagine the lady stirring the pot, and the children chasing the dog, and the Lord sitting by the fire. You are not sad. You are grateful. You take the book of hours from your pack. The lady gave it to you as a parting gift, and you have wrapped it in a cloth to keep it safe. You open it, and you read the prayer for travellers. Benec Domine viam tuum. Bless, Lord, our way. The words are old, and they have been read by 1,000 lips. and you read them now, and the reading is a kind of blessing. You close the book, and you put it back in your pack, and you turn the horse toward the road. The road leads south, through the forest and over the hills, toward the village and the city and the life that you left behind. You do not know what you will find there. You do not know if the people you knew are still alive, if the house you lived in is still standing, if the work you did is still waiting. But you are not afraid. The winter has taught you to be still, and the silence has taught you to listen, and the castle has taught you that home is not a place, it is a presence. You ride through the morning, and the sun rises higher, and the light is golden. The forest thins, and you come to the fields, where the farmers are ploughing, their oxen slow and patient. They wave as you pass, and you wave back, and you do not stop. You have no news to give them, and they have no news to give them, and they have no news to give. The silence is enough. At midday you stop by a stream. You water the horse, and you eat bread and cheese, and you drink from the flask of wine. The wine is sweet, and it warms you, and you sit on a stone, and you watch the water flow. The stream is clear and cold, and the pebbles are smooth, and the sun sparkles on the surface. You think of the lake behind the castle, frozen for so long, now open and dark. You think of the fish that swim beneath the surface, and the birds that float on the water, and the loon that called in the night. You think of the lady's voice, and the Lord's silence, and the children's laughter. You think of the tower room, the fire, the book of hours. You are not leaving them, you are carrying them with you. You ride again in the afternoon. The road is straight, and the fields are wide, and the sky is blue. You see a village in the distance, smoke rising from the chimneys, and you hear the sound of a bell. It is not the bell of the castle, which was low and deep and old. It is a different bell, higher, thinner, but it is still a bell, and it still calls people to prayer. You are not going to the village, you are going to the city, and the city is far away and the road is long, but you are not in a hurry. The winter has taught you to wait, and the waiting is a kind of prayer. The sun sets early, even in spring, and the light is gold and pink and purple. You find a place to camp, a small clearing near a grove of birch trees. You unsaddle the horse and you hobble it, and you gather wood for a fire. The fire crackles and the flames leap and the darkness holds. You sit by the fire, and you eat bread and cheese, and you drink water from the stream. You are not hungry, but you eat anyway, because the food is a gift, and the gift is meant to be accepted. You take the book of hours from your pack, and you open it, and you read the prayers for Compline, the last prayers of the day. In manus tuas, Domine, commendo spiritum meum. Into your hands, Lord, I commend my spirit. The words are old, and they have been said by 1,000 lips, and you say them now, and the saying is a kind of sleep. You close the book, and you lie down on the ground, and you pull your cloak over you. The stars are bright, and the wind is still, and the silence is deep. You are not afraid. You are not alone. The castle is with you, and the lady is with you, and the Lord is with you. The winter is with you, and the spring is with you, and the silence is with you. You dream of the castle. The fire is high, and the tapestries are bright, and the children are laughing. The lady is spinning, and the Lord is sitting in his chair, and the knights are playing chess. The minstrel is playing his harp, and the silent knight is sitting by the fire, and his eyes are soft. You are sitting at the table, and the book of hours is open in your hands, and you are reading. The words are gold, and the silence is deep, and you are home. You wake before dawn. The fire has burned low, and the air is cold, and your breath steams. You add wood, and the flames leap, and the warmth returns. You make coffee, black and bitter, and you drink it slowly. The sky is grey, and the stars are fading, and the sun will rise soon. You pack your things, and you saddle the horse, and you ride. The road continues south. The fields give way to orchards, and the orchards give way to villages, and the villages give way to the outskirts of a town. You do not stop. You ride through the town, and the people look at you, but you do not look at them. You are not part of their world. You are part of their world. You are part of the castle, of the winter, of the silence. You are carrying it with you, and you will carry it until you reach the city and beyond. You think of the lady's words, you will come back. You do not know if you will come back, The road is long, and the world is wide, and the castle is far behind you. But the castle is not a place, it is a presence. It is the fire in the great hall, and the light in the tower room, and the silence in the chapel. It is the lady's voice, and the Lord's eyes, and the children's laughter. It is the winter that taught you to be still, and the spring that taught you to hope. You are not leaving it. You are carrying it with you. You ride for 3 days. The road is muddy, and the weather is changeable, and you sleep under the stars. You read the Book of Hours each night, and you say the prayers, and the prayers are a kind of anchor. You are not sure if you believe in God, but you believe in the words, and the words are enough. On the 4th day, you see the towers of the city. They rise above the walls, grey and tall, and the bells are ringing. You stop at the edge of the road, and you look at the city, and you feel something that you have not felt in a long time. It is not joy, not relief, not hope. It is the feeling of a key turning in a lock, of a door opening, of a room that has been waiting. The city is not the castle. The city is loud and crowded and strange. But it is where you are going, and you are not afraid. You ride through the gates, and the noise closes around you. The streets are crowded, and the people are shouting, and the smells are strong. You do not flinch. The winter has taught you to be still, and the stillness is a kind of armor. You find the house where you used to live, and the door is closed, and the windows are dark. You do not knock. You do not know if anyone is inside. You stand in the street, and you look at the door, and you remember the life you left behind. It is not your life anymore. Your life is in the castle, in the winter, in the silence. You find a room at an inn, a small room with a bed and a table and a candle. You set your pack on the floor, and you sit on the bed, and you look out the window. The street is dark, and the people are gone, and the only sound is the distant murmur of the city. You take the Book of Hours from your pack, and you open it, and you read the prayers for Compline. In manis tuas, Domine, commendo spiritum meum. Into your hands, Lord, I commend my spirit. The words are a whisper, and the candle flickers, and the silence is deep. You close the book, and you lie down on the bed, and you pull the blanket to your chin. The city is not the castle. The bed is not the bed in the tower room. The silence is not the silence of the winter. But you are not afraid. You are home. The castle is with you, and the lady is with you, and the Lord is with you. The winter is with you, and the spring is with you, and the silence is with you. You are not alone. You close your eyes, and you sleep. You dream of the castle. The fire is high, and the tapestries are bright, and the children are laughing. The lady is spinning, and the Lord is sitting in his chair, and the knights are playing chess. You are sitting at the table, and the Book of Hours is open in your hands, and you are reading. The words are gold, and the silence is deep, and you are home. You wake before dawn, the silence is deep, and you are home. You wake before dawn. The city is quiet, and the light is grey. You dress, and you pack your things, and you leave the inn. The streets are empty, and the only sound is the cry of a gull. You walk to the harbour, and you watch the sun rise over the water. The light is gold, and the waves are calm, and the ships are rocking at their moorings. You are not going to take a ship. You are going to stay. The city is not the castle, but it is where you are, and that is enough. You find a small room to rent, a room with a window that looks out on a courtyard. There is a hearth and a table and a chair. You unpack your things, and you set the Book of Hours on the table, and you hang your cloak on a hook by the door. The room is small, but it is warm, and it is yours. You sit in the chair, and you look out the window. The courtyard is empty, and the only sound is the wind. You are not in the castle, but the castle is in you. You open the new book, the one the lady gave you, and you dip the pen in the ink, and you write, April 2nd, 1424. I have returned to the city. The castle is behind me, but it is not gone. The winter taught me to be still. The silence taught me to listen. I am not afraid. I am home. The words sit on the page, dark and permanent, and you close the book and put it on the shelf. The fire crackles, and the wind is still, and the room is warm. You lie down on the bed, and you pull the blanket to your chin, and you close your eyes. The wind moves through the courtyard, and the city is quiet, and the silence is deep. You are not afraid. You are home. The bell rings, and you sleep.